أهل بيتك المظلومين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بثنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. صلوات The presence of Muharram has been sighted, and this announcement reaches us in many ways, either through the media, through text, or over the internet. But how were the people of Medina informed of the new moon? They were informed of the first of Muharram by the cries and lamentations of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. The people of Medina would know that it's the first of Muharram through the cries of our sixth Imam alayhi salam. What makes us leave our comfort zone, cancel our social and work commitments, to gather and attend the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam each year? The reason for this is simply that we know that attending such a gathering is a great honor for us. For this gathering is attended by the daughter of Rasulullah. It is attended by the mother of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I would like to remind ourselves that when we attend the majalis of Imam Hussein, we should come to the gathering with the utmost of humbleness, with the heart heavy with sadness and pain for Imam Hussein, and sit quietly. We don't attend a social gathering to socialize with each other. We attend this gathering to observe this month of Muharram. Those of us who attend, and it's important to remember that we shouldn't bring any harm to the dignity of this majalis. The sisters who attend should observe the hijab. If you do not attend the majalis without hijab, if you attend the majalis without observing the hijab, this is harming the dignity of the majalis of Imam Hussein. If you are parking your vehicle and it's causing an inconvenience to other people, this is harming the dignity of Imam Hussein's majalis. And for the children, we should all strive to become the true servants of Imam Hussein. Help distribute the water, distribute the niyaz during these nights. Arrange the shoes, help with the cleaning arrangements. Financially, we can support the majalis as well. And when we spend for the niyaz of Imam Hussein, we should remember that this money should be from the halal rizq. It should be taken from the pure wealth. We should have paid our khums before we spend on the great name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And some of us who have to hear that information again and again. We have to keep returning to a lecture, we buy a book, but we leave it tucked away on a shelf. It's not our capabilities that determine the results. What you can achieve is absolutely extraordinary. What we will achieve is often disappointing. It's often the difference between if you say to yourself that I should offer my prayers on time. I should recite the Holy Quran. I should grow my beard. I should observe the hijab. I should abstain from sins. And it's the difference between those people who say that I must pray my salah on time. I must recite the Holy Quran. I must attend the majalis or the gatherings of knowledge. I must attend the Dua Rasul on Tuesday. I must attend the Fajr prayers on Saturday morning. I must attend Dua Kumail on Thursday. You see, the word must is a command, and this commanding word has a very positive effect on the nervous system. And we respond positively when we say that I must do something as opposed to I should. Let's make this year, friends, brothers and sisters who are listening out there, make this year a year in which we transform our lives from within. You've all heard the joke and the complaint that the Shias practice their religion only for 10 nights of the year, 3% of the year. After 10th of Muharram, they turn their back to Imam Hussein. After the 10th of Muharram, this is a joke, we all know this, we've all heard this. After 10 days, they turn their back to the majalis. After 10 days, they turn their back to the salah. After 10 days, they turn their back to this place. Alhamdulillah, this evening with so many mu'mineen. What happens after the 10th of Muharram? What a tragedy, friends, that we turn our back to our religion. This year, let's make this year a year of change. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. No doubt Imam Hussein alayhi salam is admired by so many people. He has moved so many people. Mahatma Gandhi writes, he says that if I had an army like the 72 soldiers of Imam Hussein, I would have won freedom for India within 24 hours. We have to move from admiration to the level of implementation. Only then we will internalize the essence and the reality of Karbala. It is said by a Sufi poet, Sana'i. Sana'i lived between the 11th and the 12th century. And another Sufi poet by the name of Atar. These two poets influenced Jalaluddin al-Rumi. Jalaluddin al-Rumi, he writes that Atar is the soul, and the two eyes of the soul is Sana'i. So the great Jalaluddin al-Rumi is influenced by this man Sana'i, a great Sufi poet. What does he write when he talks about Imam Hussein? He compares Hussein, Yazid and Shimr as contrary forces, opposing forces that lie within our souls. And I'd like to read and share with you some poetry from Sana'i. He says, religion is your Hussein, while your desires and hopes are the two animals. Because of the sacredness of this mimbar, I don't want to say those two animals, the Najasul Ain. Yazid and Shimr are the two animals. Your desires and your hopes are your two animals. Yet you kill the first with thirst, and you feed the other two. How can you keep cursing the wicked Yazid and Shimr? How can you keep cursing the wicked Yazid and Shimr? You are Shimr and Yazid. for your own Hussein. We have to kill the Yazid and the Shimmer that lies within us. We have to kill those hopes and desires that cloud the Quwwat al-Aqaliyah. We have to defeat, overcome the Quwwat al-Shahwiyah, the power of desire, the power that takes us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do we wear black? Have you asked the question? Because my mom and dad wear black. Why do you go to the majlis? Because for 15 years my mom and dad go to the majlis. I don't understand what the Shaykh or the Molana says. I go because my parents go. Why do you cry? Well, the days when I don't feel like crying, but I feel that I have to cry. I don't understand why, but I feel that I have to, or I should. Again, it goes back to I should. What was the driving force? What was the driving force behind the movement of Imam Hussein? Have you ever asked that question? For the years and years that you've attended, you've grown up and attended the majalis of Imam Hussein. What is the driving force? What is the driving force behind the movement of Imam Hussein? What is the driving force behind the companions, those 72 companions? What was the driving force behind the women and the children and the elderly who gave their life, they gave their blood in the way of Allah for the cause of Imam Hussein? Have you ever asked that question? Because the movement, this force was so strong, friends, this force was so strong that when a child of 15 years old was asked on the night of Ashura, when he was asked, how do you perceive death? He says, I perceive death sweeter than honey. Look at the station of the youth in the camp of Imam Hussein. The driving force, this is the question, and here's the answer. The driving force behind the movement of Imam Hussein was that these people, the camp of Imam Hussein, Imam Hussein's heart was overflowing with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His heart was full of the love for the devotion to prayers. His heart was full and he loved the remembrance of Allah. If you want to understand the love of Imam Hussein, his love for his Lord, I invite you all to read the Dua Arafah. How many of us attended the Hajj this year? Show of hands if you made Hajj this year. Okay. Hands up if you've ever performed the Hajj. Show of hands please. Right, and on the day of Arafah, we recite Dua Arafah. Tonight I'd like to share a few verses from Dua Arafah, and this will help us understand the devotion, the love of Imam Hussein for his Lord, for his Master. The Imam alayhi salam says that my ignorance of you and challenge, have not stopped you from showing me that which brings me close to you, my Lord. Listen carefully to this, please. My ignorance of you and challenge. When do I challenge Allah? When I don't worship Him. When I think somebody else is the reason behind my success. This is challenging Allah. Imam in Dua Arafah, he says that my ignorance of you and challenge have not stopped you from showing me the way that brings me close to you. فَإِن دَعَوْتُكَ أَجَبْتَنِي. Listen to these beautiful words of Imam Hussein. فَإِن دَعَوْتُكَ أَجَبْتَنِي. Oh my Master, when I call upon you, you answer me. وَإِن سَأَلْتُكَ أَعْطَيْتَنِي. When I beg of you, my Lord, you grant me, you give to me. وَإِن أَطَعْتُكَ شَكَرْتَنِي. And when I obey you, when I pay my khums, when I pray my salah, when I offer my zakat, when I try to live a life on Sirat al-Mustaqim, when I abstain from committing sins, whether they are minor or major. He says, وَإِنْ أَطَعْتُكَ شَكَرْتَنِي. And so if I obey you, my Lord, you appreciate my actions. وَإِنْ شَكَرْتُكَ زِدْتَنِي. And when I offer thanks to you, my Lord, you grant me even more. Subhanaka, Subhanaka. And glory be to you, my Lord. Glory be to you, my Lord. This is the love of Imam Hussein that brought him to Karbala. The love that he had for his Lord. Ask yourself a question. What motivates me, what empowers me to become a better person? How does the tragedy of Karbala empower me to become a better person? Ask this question in this month of Muharram. We learn many lessons, we draw many and derive many lessons from the tragedy of Karbala. We learn patience in adversity. You know, you never find Imam Hussein complaining to his Lord. For us, somebody falls ill, the whole world has collapsed. We start blaming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We fail our exams because we were lazy, we blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Hussein never lost his patience. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he says that, my Lord, I am pleased with your pleasure. So patience in adversity is one of the lessons we learn from Karbala. We also learn the importance of the role of women in society. Not those women who sit tucked away at home, close to the community. Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha traveled from Karbala. She traveled from Karbala to Kufa, to Damascus. And she conveyed the message, did she not? She conveyed the message of Imam Hussein. Our women should serve the community. They should take a more proactive role in our communities. We learn from Karbala the importance of giving preference to other people over yourself. We've all heard that on the 10th of Muharram, when Hazrat Abbas captures the Euphrates, alayhi salam, he's carrying the water in his hands. He's in command. He has taken over the banks of the Euphrates. He has the water in his hands, but does he drink from that water? He says, no, I don't want to drink from this water. My thirst is not important. I prefer the thirst, I have preference over the thirst of the children of Imam Hussein. We learn from Karbala the importance of enjoying good and forbidding evil. When Imam Hussein leaves Medina, he writes his wasiyah to Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, his brother. And in this wasiyah, what does he write? إِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ. He says, I leave Medina to seek reformation of my grandfather's nation. Imam Hussein wants to see us reform ourselves by the end of Muharram. If I go into work tomorrow and I'm laughing and joking with my colleagues, is this the way I should be conveying the message of Karbala? He wants us to convey the message. He wants us to enjoy good and evil. He wants Islah. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, we all admire Imam Hussein. Non-Muslims admire Imam Hussein, but we need to take it to another level, to the level from admiration to implementation. Only then we can say that we are the true followers of our Muhammad. From Karbala we learn and we get a deeper understanding of life, that our life should be a life where we only seek the pleasure of Allah. We put Allah before everything. Every action that I do, that I plan in my life, I put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it. And then we learn from Karbala that our death should be a death of dignity. Our death should be a death of humiliation. The angel of death can be given the command at any second to take our soul. Yes or no? Yes. And so, what would we like? Would we like that our soul is taken in a state of worship, or our soul is taken where we are disobeying Allah, we are committing sins, we are committing khibah. Inshallah, from tomorrow night, we begin a series of lectures on the illnesses of the heart and their cures. And inshallah, the references from the Holy Quran and the narratives that will be mentioned will be displayed on the slides. So if you'd like to take those references down, I invite you that this month of transformation, this month in which we should seek reformation of our souls, that we learn, because our souls gather us, all of our souls gather us over the year. And therefore, we can only remove this rust when we understand the illnesses of the heart. Only then we can reform ourselves. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كلمة مولانا في الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
आवाज़ें बुलंदतर सलावत।
Tonight I'd like to call upon you all to enter your minds and take your souls to the house of Imam Hussein. I would like you to think that if you were stood outside the house of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, what would you be thinking? What would Imam Hussein alayhi salam be thinking at this moment? It is mentioned in the narrations that when Sayyid al-Shuhada salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi decided to leave Medina, the beloved city of his grandfather, the people of Medina cried so much. In fact, historians tell us that the people of Medina cried on two occasions like this. The first was on the demise of Rasulullah, and the second when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was departing from Medina. You know, when people wanted to hear the voice of Imam Hussein, they would gather outside the house of Imam Hussein. And they would say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba. And they would wait for the reply, alayka. And the people knew that Imam Hussein had a son who resembled Rasulullah. And therefore what they would do would be to stand outside the house of Imam Hussein with the hope that Ali Akbar would appear from the house. And if they look at the face of Ali Akbar, they would do the ziyarah of Rasulullah. Our beloved Prophet, may the peace and blessings be upon him, and his immaculate household left, he migrated from Mecca to Medina. And the last few nights of Rajab, Rasulullah's grandson does migration from Medina to Mecca. He turns to us Abbas and says, my brother Abbas, the circumstances in Medina do not allow us to remain in Medina. Prepare the caravan, we must depart. It is mentioned that there is a companion of Rasulullah. He was so old, and yet his hearing was so poor. He couldn't even hear the sound of thunder. The night that Imam Hussein was departing from Medina, he wakes up in the middle of the night and he turns to his wife and says, who are these women who are crying in the distance? His wife begins to cry and she says that these are the daughters of Rasulullah. Tonight is the night that Imam Hussein is leaving Medina. It is mentioned in the Maktab that Imam Hussein for 2 consecutive nights visited the qabr of Rasulullah. On the first night when he enters the shrine of Rasulullah, he witnesses a nur leaving the qabr, going to the sky and then returning to the qabr of Rasulullah. And then the final night, the final farewell, the final ziyarat of Imam Hussein. How does he perform the ziyarah? He performs the ziyarah by hugging the qabr of Rasulullah. He hugs the qabr of Rasulullah. What does he say? He says, Ya Jadda, khudni alayk. Imam Hussein says, oh my grandfather, take me. And as he says this, he falls into sajda. As he falls into sajda, Imam Hussein falls asleep. Rasulullah at that time appears in the dream. And as he appears, the first thing Rasulullah does, he hugs his grandson. And he hugs him like he used to hug him when he was a child. And he kisses him on his forehead. And what does Rasulullah say? He says, may my father be your sacrifice. I see you weltering in your blood on the day of Ashura. You will soon join your parents, your brother Hassan and Mujtaba. They are eagerly waiting to meet you, my son. And then he says, a great position in Jannah awaits you, which is only attainable through your shahada. And then, as this is seen in the dream, Imam Hussein wakes up, he begins to cry and recite, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. رضا بقضائه وتسليما لعمره. Imam Hussein then goes to his brother's grave, Hassan and Mujtaba. He goes to the grave of his brother to say his final farewells. But then the narrator says that I see Imam Hussein leave his brother's grave and he heads towards his mother's grave. But how does he go to his mother's grave? He runs to his mother's grave as a child is running to the arms of his mother. And he's crying out loud, Assalamu alayki, ya Ummah, Assalamu alayki, O my mother. He falls on the grave of his mother and he hugs the grave of his mother. The narrator says that I heard a voice come from the grave of Rasulullah's granddaughter. He hears the voice from the grave of Sayyidina Fatima al-Zahra. Wa alayka salam, my Musafir Hussein. وعليك السلام مع الخليل حسين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم اغفر لي وارحمني وتب علي إنك أنت التواب.